Monday night. The stage is set in Pasadena. The Rose Bowl, the college football playoff, and a moment that's been earned, not given. Number 1, Indiana, standing across from number 9, Alabama. Tradition meets opportunity. Discipline meets expectation. This isn't about hype. It's about preparation, execution, and what it takes to win on college football's biggest stage. We break down the matchups, the numbers, and the keys to the CFP showdown. This is Hoosier Tailgate Live, and it starts right now.
Raiola. And picked off! Up the sideline! Indiana! Asbury! Walking them down! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
Good evening and welcome to a cold Northern Indiana and the Hoosier Tailgate here tonight on thehoosier.com. I'm the coach Shannon Griffith, and welcome into this Rose Bowl preview as we get ready for the Indiana Hoosiers to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide in the Rose Bowl January 1st. We thank you for joining us here this evening. If you have a question, comment, suggestion, put it in our chat box. We'd be glad to answer it if we can for you tonight. But we appreciate all of you being here and wanting to get a full breakdown here on this Alabama team that comes in the 9th ranked team in the college football playoffs and having a big win on the road in the round 1 at Oklahoma, rebounding from a 17-0 score deficit and getting themselves a big win on the road for Alabama, redeeming their earlier season loss to the Sooners at home there in Tuscaloosa. So Alabama comes in riding high, feeling pretty good where they're at. You can tell by the barometer of their fans about who they're playing, and I've seen many a comment about Indiana's relatively quote-unquote easy schedule and how that compares to what Alabama went through. But we will wait and let the talking be done on the field, because in all practical purposes, the talking is done. Both teams are in Pasadena. They're participating in all the festivities of the Rose Bowl this week and also preparing for their game on Thursday. And we're going to get to a lot of that tonight as we talk throughout the show about this Alabama team. But one thing to talk about tonight is, kind of going into this matchup a little bit, is talking about, Indiana's identity and consistency of where they've gotten to this year and what they've done. A remarkable historical season. There's no question about what they've accomplished on the field. They spent the better part of this time off recouping and getting themselves healthy and from being banged up throughout this season, as well as collecting some hardware, with Mendoza winning the Heisman, Coach Cignetti winning numerous Coach of the Year honors, offensive and defensive coordinator being recognized on a national scale for what they've been able to do with both sides of the football. But now the distractions need to be put on the back burner, and their focus and mindset, which I do not feel that they will be distracted from the main gift at hand here, is the fact that they're going to prepare to play in a game that gives them an opportunity to potentially win a national championship. Want to thank all those that are participating in here tonight. Good evening there, Michael Music, as well as Robert. John, thank you for coming in tonight. We appreciate any and all college football fans, as we always do here at the tailgate. But when you talk about Indiana's identity this year, there's no question that this team got to where they're at with a tenacious defense week in, week out that provided opportunities for the offense to make plays to win games, and that's what they've done. When Indiana needed scores, the offense was able to take advantage of what the defense had set up for them. And when they needed a big stop, the defense was able to do that as well. Justin, appreciate you for yourself, sir. Happy New Year to all. Hope everybody had a great holiday season thus far. Well, hopefully we'll ring in the new year with a hopeful victory in Pasadena. But this Indiana team, in terms of where they're at, what they've been able to do, is something that they're going to have to do now continuously, because like I've said, the margin for error is razor thin, and you can pretty much expect this Bama team to come in full bore, waiting for this opportunity. Kellen DeBoer, Kane Womack, you can go around, Nick Sheridan, a lot of former Indiana assistants who knew that Indiana was the cradle of coaches now. But there's a lot of different storylines in this ball game, as we've seen throughout the week with these two staffs involved. But I guarantee you that behind the scenes in SEC land, they are thankful that they're going out to be the hunter, not the hunted. And they don't think Indiana is going to be able to handle that pressure of being the hunted that they will now find themselves in. Well, I think Indiana's been the hunted ever since the Illinois game. So I don't think there's a situation there with playing with quote unquote pressure, because I think they've done it for the better part of the second half of this season. And I don't think that's going to change one bit for them when you talk about the ball game at hand for this Thursday. Look at it again. This is no Cinderella story. This is not some type of fairy tale where we all woke up on Christmas Day and Santa brought us the 13-0 season. This was something that was definitely earned through the way this team has played all year, the coaching staff and their preparation. I don't think there's any question that this team has fully earned all year long in this season. And I do think that's one thing that many people, I do feel on the outside looking in, those that are not from Big Ten land per se, look at Indiana as still being the Cinderella story of the nation. And I get it. I understand it. But I don't think they understand that this team has put the proof in the numbers that they've been able to put up all year long consistently against what type of team. I've seen a lot of stories and comments about Fernando Mendoza and this and that about this team or that team, or when he played so-and-so, he was this way. Well, I always say this, liars figure and figures lie. So again, you got to take the whole picture into the equation, especially like for Fernando playing a better part of the year, didn't even play in the fourth quarter, let alone the latter part of the third in some of these games. And so Coach Cignetti was not out to pad statistics with his quarterback this year whatsoever. So it is one of those deals in that right now. John says, a lot of defensive metrics. There's an IU's favor. If they can pressure Simpson, Bama really has no answer. Simpson's very good in long passing situations. Ty Simpson is a great quarterback, and I will get into that a little bit later. He's a coach's son. He fully understands the makeup from A to Z. He understands what's expected of him on the field, off the field, in the huddle, as the commander-in-chief when he's on in between the white lines. And a ton of respect for the young man and what he's been able to do. He's got a good delivery. He's got a quick trigger. You can force him into making mistakes in that respect as well, but we will see. But he is a fine quarterback as well. And we'll talk about some of the discrepancies as we go through here, John. Appreciate it. Yeah, the SEC right now is not off to a great start in the bowl season. The Big Ten, I do believe, is undefeated in bowl season thus far, and I don't want to hear about opt-outs. Everybody has them. Everybody deals with it. It is what it is, and you still play the game, and what the end of the day says it is, that's it. Win or loss is on the board in that respect. So that's the biggest thing, with all that. But but going back to Ty Simpson and everything that he has meant to Bama, I don't think there's any question of what the young man's done, A to Z. There's no question. He's a kid that he can hurt you running it. He can hurt you by getting out on the perimeter and forcing you to come up, and he's going to throw it over your head. So there's a lot of things there that Indiana's defense is going to have to be fully aware of when defending this Bama offense in that respect. There's one thing that I think everyone has to understand here, regardless of what you're looking at. You got to respect the fact that's Alabama's pedigree, but you don't need to be intimidated by the Crimson Tide. Alabama is the blue bloods of blue bloods. There's no question about it. Nick Saban earned that for them. Everything that they've done at Alabama via Nick Saban has been earned. Nothing was given to them. Curt Cignetti was a big part of that staff early on, and Coach Saban has done a tremendous job at Alabama up until the day he decided that he wasn't going to coach anymore. Now Kalen DeBoer stepping into those shoes and done quite well from that standpoint. But Alabama is just like any other college football team. They put their pants on one leg at a time and like anyone else. But you should not be intimidated by quote unquote the SEC. And I don't think this Indiana team is. I think that's what people want you to believe, that you're playing the mighty Crimson Tide and the storied history and the background and things of that nature. But I don't think in Coach Cignetti's mind and his preparation with his players, they just look at it as the next opponent in front of them. I don't think they even attach the history to the matchup. They attach to who they're playing across from in that respect. But you respect the pedigree, you compliment the pedigree from A to Z, and you'll never see me criticize that Alabama team or a Georgia team or anything like that. We all have our opinions on about certain aspects of things, but when you look at it from a broader perspective and what the SEC, certain teams in the SEC has done, they've earned the right to have that respect and that pedigree, no different than Ohio State has earned that and other teams in the Big Ten through the years. You expect it, but you're not intimidated. And I would say why Indiana is not going to be phased one bit or one way or the other this way is Ohio State was the number one ranked team in the country when they played them, and they weren't intimidated by Ohio State, and they're not going to be intimidated by Alabama either in that respect. You look at some of the other things here as we talk about this game as a whole. When you talk about college football, and you talk about whether it's the college football playoffs, a bowl game, whether it's the season, whatever, the games are won in the preparation work that you put in prior to the game. And Indiana has their routine and their system, just like everybody else does. But emotion is not going to win you a game. Whoever comes in the most fired up has nothing to do with it. Everything is done predetermined in your preparation before you even get to the playing field on January 1. Then that's what you're going to see. You're going to see teams win games because they make the least amount of mistakes. They capitalize on opportunities. And no further point can be drawn from that is what Alabama did at Oklahoma. Down 17-0. They were facing a fourth down inside of Oklahoma's territory. Kalen DeBoer decides to go for it because he has trust in Simpson. He hits a freshman receiver who gets himself in the end zone, and that breaks the ice for Alabama to get them back in the game. And then lo and behold, a few series later, they get the pick six. And next thing you know, the dam is broken, and Bama was on a roll, and Oklahoma wasn't going to stop them at that part. And then the other thing to talk about a little bit here is the weather out in Pasadena, for all the years that we've sat and watched the Rose Bowl on a gorgeous, sunny, blue sky, mid-afternoon throughout the years with the San Gabriels in the background, it appears at this point in time is there going to be rain in the forecast, and will it have a factor in the game? I don't think it's going to have a tremendous amount of factor unless we're in a monsoon type of rain where you just get the, buckets and buckets of rain dropped on you. I don't know if that is the case. I know the forecast is for rain and about 90% chance of rain, but I don't look for it to having overimposing factor in this ball game unless it's torrential downpours and stuff like that. Let's see here. It could, but I've always said in games where you've got rain, some of the disadvantage in that too is for DBs covering, because it makes the footing a little bit suspect, and you can't get a great pass rush at times in that type of weather, in that respect. So, but it is going to be a factor. At this point in time, it's too early to tell. If you get into a situation where it's going to be a torrential downpour in a monsoon type of situation, sure, it's going to have an impact, but it's too early to tell at this point in time what type of rain they're going to see this coming week, especially midweek, and then on Thursday for this ball game. That afternoon, we'll have to wait and see. And again, you adapt, you jump and improvise, and you will hear Cignetti talk about no excuses here, regardless of what the weather's like. It's just like he said when they went to play UCLA. They plan to get off the plane, go to the hotel, get up, go beat their get back on the plane and go home. Well, his mindset is the same. It doesn't matter whether it's sunny and 80 or overcast and 50. They're still there to win a game, regardless of what it is in that respects to the ball game per se in that respect. But when you look at some of this, just looking at some of the college football, the bracket, so to speak, as we get rolling here this week, we got some big games. Of course, you've got Ole Miss rematching with Georgia, Miami and Ohio State. That's on Wednesday, I believe. That should be a dandy of a ball game. I do think this one's going to be a great one too, the Ole Miss Georgia game, even though Lane Kiffin has left and things of that nature. And I just think there's 4 great games on that schedule card right there when you look at it and see those 4 teams, 4 games on the schedule, because I think with all of them, I do think they're going to be tight ball games. I do believe Ohio State may have the largest point spread at 9.5, maybe. I know Indiana has fluctuated between 6.5 and 7 per se. So we'll see what all that how that comes out into it when you look at it. Of course, this is kind of continuation of what days we're looking at. 7:30 for the Miami Ohio State game, and then Oregon and Texas Tech will kick off prior to Indiana, Alabama, followed up by Ole Miss and Georgia on a 2-day window of great college football. And then, of course, everything leading up to it with all the bowl games that are going on this week as well as after those games. So, this is our last few weeks of college football, so enjoy it while you have it. As we get into this latter part of December 1st to January, again, it's going to be one of those things where you've got a great set of games to look up forward to on Wednesday and Thursday when it comes to all that. And like I said, I think the Ohio State-Miami game will be an interesting game. You're looking at Ohio State coming in after the loss to Indiana in the Big Ten Championship, Miami with a crazy road win at Texas A&M in what you would say surprising win from the standpoint of the score, being that it was so low scoring in that respect. It'll be interesting to see how they match up against Ohio State because their defense, Miami's defense, is good. And we'll see how well Ohio State fares in that ball game. And then, the storylines with Ole Miss and Georgia with Lane Kiffin being gone, and then Ole Miss playing Tulane in round one, and really kind of a tune-up game for them, as was Oregon with James Madison. So, again, 4 great games with Indiana and Alabama being right there in the thick of it as well when it comes to those games this week ahead. And let's see here. Didn't want that one. What I do want to do is get over to here and look at some statistical stuff here from this these two teams that we are going to see on January 1. Let's look at the offenses and kind of compare these two offenses to each other because both these O and D are, pretty good on both sides of the ball, but you can see some discrepancies in all of the statistics and stuff. You can see Indiana holds about a 10-point advantage in points scored a game, a big advantage when you talk about rushing yardage. Alabama, a team that has had some excellent running backs throughout their history, has really struggled to run the football, and they've, struggled quite a bit, and they have not broken over 300 and some odd yards a game all year. So they've been an offense that's only averaged 380 total yards on the entire year. So it's one thing that with them is that their passing game has been something that they've kind of hung their hat on with Ty Simpson. The running game, combination of their running backs and who is healthy, and then, of course, what Ty Simpson can bring to the table in that respect. For Indiana, they've got a 2-headed monster at running back with Hemby and Black. And then, of course, the offensive line is completely healed up, according to Coach Shanahan this week, is we've had a couple days of interviews and got to hear the offense and defensive coordinators, and you can get all that on the Hoosier.com, those interviews as well as the players. But Coach Shanahan was very outspoken when it came to the offensive line and what that has meant to this team this year. And they're all healthy, and the wide receiver room's healthy as well, with Omar Cooper back at 100%. But as you can see, that Indiana has kind of had a balanced offense all year long, 473 yards on average, 56% on third downs, where Alabama's at 43. And again, that's a huge, huge deal when it comes to Indiana, because if they are consistent and they're efficient on their first and second downs, they're going to be in third and medium or less, and that's what it's going to take against this Alabama defense. You cannot get off schedule against Kane Womack and this Alabama defense. They are very good. They're a very good defense. And then when you look at the fourth down scenarios, again, Indiana hasn't been a great fourth down team all year. It's not to say that they don't take their calculated chances, but it's got to be a pretty good reason to go for it, and the situation has to add up right, where Alabama's about 65% on their fourth downs. Red zone scores, Indiana right at 91% in the red zone, Alabama right behind at 88%. Red zone touchdowns, as you can see, both teams are pretty much identical in a lot of ways there. Points off of turnovers, Indiana 106 on the season, which is another phenomenal job of taking the takeaways and putting points on the board. And Alabama at 82, which is not chopped liver. Then when you look at this as well, the time of possession, again, both offenses pretty similar when it comes to the time of possession. Indiana holding a slight advantage in that respect offensively. See, Justin. Well, Charlie's had a tremendous year, and there's no question he's become a huge factor in the offense for Indiana. And I continue to see him being that, and and how they utilize all those guys, because I think they all lend themselves to something within the total offensive system here. Defensively, here's a big one, and this is where you kind of see some separation as well. Indiana scoring defense, again, holds about a 7-point advantage over Alabama's. Rushing defense, again, Indiana all year long has just been tremendous against the rush and the pass for that matter. And third down conversions, Indiana 28%. And that is because they do a lot on the first and second down of getting teams off schedule and behind the sticks. And they've done a great job for the better part of all year. Then fourth down conversions, they're down under 60%. They're down to 57, where Alabama is kind of a defense at 70% has given up a lot of fourth down conversions, which is a little surprising to a degree. It could be the standpoint as well that they're getting a lot of fourth and real shorts, 1 or 2 yards, and that's why people are going for it in that respect. And then in the red zone, both teams have been pretty decent in the red zone when it comes to scores, limiting on the year. Indiana, they've only had 22 opportunities, their defense this year, which is phenomenal. And they're 6 of 22 when it comes to giving up touchdowns. It's just remarkable what this defense has done. And that's what makes them so dangerous when it comes up there in that respect. So it's going to be crazy when you think about that. Sacks, Indiana, again, a +9 on them on the sacks. Again, both teams are good. They both got good defensive fronts, and they can get pressure with 4, and they do quite well with it. It's kind of a neat aspect of it that Indiana over 39 sacks on the year is just crazy. And then Indiana +17 on the turnover margin, while Alabama is a +8. As you can see, there's a huge differential there, as you can see with both these ball clubs when it comes to just the statistical data aspect of things. When you look at it from the black and white of it, okay, there is some statistic advantages in that respect, and Indiana has got a lot of in their favor when it comes to offense and defensive comparisons. Alabama's defense, I would say, is definitely the side of the ball that has been the most consistent for the year. Their offense has kind of had the ups and downs at times, slow starts, things of that nature, but their defense has kept them in games. Their defense has allowed them offense to kind of get itself in gear as they've gone along. So again, to what they like to do, and they've got a lot of studs on defense. We're talking the blue bloods of 4-stars and 5-star guys across from you, and they like to do some things that tries to mix coverages, show a pre-snap coverage, and then look in something completely different than you thought in that respect. In that regard, hello, Cisco. Appreciate you coming on. Kevin, we want Bama. Well, as they say, careful what you wish for, right? In that respects. Looks like IU may go for it on 4th down if the situation. Well, yeah, I think it's one of those things, like I said, and Jamie correct, is that when you see a defense is giving up 70 on some odd percent on 4th down conversions, that leads me to believe that Alabama has faced a lot of 4th and shorts as a defense and have given up their the first downs in that scenario, which, is understandable from that standpoint. But again, when you look at it from the black and white of it, you got to feel that Indiana has some distinct advantages in the run game, especially in the run game, especially in the rush defense and things of that matter, things that are important to win games at this time of year. And we've always said that if you can run the ball effectively in the months of November and December, you should be a pretty darn good football team, and Indiana has done that. And the weather may dictate that that's what they need to do Thursday in the Rose Bowl, especially if the weather is not up to par and is forcing them into a more running situation as opposed to the passing game to a degree in that respect. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about this Alabama team. We'll talk a little bit more about their personnel and their, who are the guys that are leading the way for this Bama team on offense and defense, as well as get into some of the video of Alabama and Georgia from the SEC championship game, and then the goals that I think Indiana has to try to get on Thursday to get themselves a win to advance on in the college football playoffs. We'll be right back with all that. Stay here. We'll be right back after these messages here on Hoosier Tailgate Live on thehoosier.com. And maybe Hoosier fans, listen up. This is the Coach Shannon Griffith. And if you're gearing up for the game day or gearing up for the holidays, the Hoosier Tailgate storefront on Fanatics has everything you need to rep the cream and crimson in style. From official Indiana Hoosiers game day apparel, hoodies, hats, and sideline gear, to tailgating essentials and accessories, this is your one-stop shop for all things Hoosiers. And with the holidays right around the corner, it's the perfect place to grab cold weather gear, stocking stuffers, and IU gifts for the whole family. And here's the kicker. When you shop through the Hoosier Tailgate storefront, you unlock exclusive discounts across Fanatics. More Hoosier swag, better prices, and gear you won't find anywhere else. Ready to load up your cart? The link is easy to find. Just head to my Hoosier Tailgate Twitter page and hit the link in my bio. You can also find it in every YouTube description and all of our Hoosier Tailgate podcast episodes on your favorite platforms. So don't wait. Rep the Hoosiers proudly and save big. Visit the Hoosier Tailgate storefront on Fanatics today, because the best fans in the Big Ten deserve the best gear in the Big Ten.
If you haven't signed up for
Welcome back here to the Hoosier Tailgate, live on a Monday evening here in the cold northern part of Indiana. It is very cold where I'm at. It was 65 yesterday, and tonight it's down in the 20s and snowing. And I'm sure we're all going through that right now. I'm not the only one out there, but I know that there are some planes that are heading west tomorrow from Indy to head out to Pasadena to enjoy the Rose Bowl and all the festivities. So safe travels are heading out west and then enjoying this college game day experience there at the Rose Bowl. Safe travels to you all. And that's one of the things with this game coming up on Thursday is that there's going to be a lot of red in that stadium come Thursday for this game because of Crimson Tide and Indiana in the stands. So it will be a sea of red come Thursday in that respect. So when we look at all this and some of the things that we had talked about earlier with some of the statistical aspect of things, I want to get into some of the player bios as well in this respect. As you can see here, Ty Simpson, again, what a year that this kid's had. 28 touchdowns, 64%, over 3,500 yards, only 5 interceptions. He does a great job of protecting the football, averaging about 250 yards passing a game, as well as 76 yards rushing. So he's a guy that Indiana is going to have a a distinct plan for, because again, they like to change the launch point with him. They do a great job of moving him around and making sure that he's not always in the pocket. They do some rollouts, they do some bootlegs and things of that nature in that respect. And you're going to find that this kid does a great job. And he's a big kid, 6'2", 208. His dad, I believe, is the head coach at Tennessee Martin, if memory serves me correct. So he's a coach's kid. So he understands it all well in terms of being a quarterback at that position in that respects. Any concern about the return of LT Overton? Yep. He's a big man, and he's a big part of their defense that they're getting back and healthy with. And that's a big part with Alabama right now, is the fact that they're getting some top tier guys back on defense, although their defense has been good all year. Overton is one of those guys that's a big time player, and he'll be a boost for them defensively. Jam Miller, one of the running backs, again, their running game has been off and on. He's been one of a group of them. He's kind of the leading rusher at this point at 505 yards on the year. When it comes to that, and 3.9 on the year. But again, he did not play in the SEC championship game, but he's one of their leading rushers. And then you got Daniel Hill, who also has about 270 yards rushing on the year, but he's caught 21 receptions. So he's a good back out of the backfield for them, as you can see. But you can see that they just don't have that Kalen Black, Roman Hemby type of running back numbers that you are accustomed to seeing, especially from Alabama teams in that regard. The Bernard kid, outside guy, 802 yards receiving on the year, 13.36, 7 touchdowns. He's not the former teammate of D'Angelo Pons, by the way. That's my fault there. But he has been a really good player for them all year long. And again, he's a guy that, a big guy, he can bang it and play in the middle. He's a guy that can go get it up on the outside. And again, they've got a very good skill set at receiver, and Indiana's going to have to be fully aware of their skill guys because of who they have, and no more than this young man right here, this Ryan Williams kid. He burst on the scenes a year ago. Now, he hasn't had the year that I think a lot of teams thought he would, or fans would, but he's a guy that they do try to target him in different ways. You're going to see him not just be a threat on the outside because of his speed, but they will target him in speed sweeps and quick screens and things like that to put him in, get him out on the perimeter one-on-one and let his speed take over, because the kid can flat fly. And that's why he's a deep threat as well. So you can bet they're going to try to get him a situation where they're going to try to get him involved in this game and get him a situation where they can either put him in one-on-ones against somebody on the outside, or put him in a situation where he's banging up against a linebacker in the inside. But you also got to figure he's going to figure in their run game as well, somehow, some way, with all of that. And he is, like I said, an electrifying player. Watching the kid for 2 years, I've always been impressed with him. He seems like a good kid as well, on and off the field. And he's a guy Indiana's going to have to be fully aware of. Now, Alabama's front offensive line, I think they've had their struggles here and there. Not to say that they're, injured or anything like that. I don't think they're as good as they have been in years past. But again, they've got some talented kids up front, and they'll try to figure out the best ways to run the football, and they will attack you. And that's what Kellen does pretty good as when he was a coordinator at Indiana, and he's got Grubb back with him when he was with him at Washington, and they're a pretty good duo when it comes to scheming opponent defenses and then trying to attack their weaknesses, and they'll have a good plan for Indiana's defense. On defense, Lawson is a big kid, 6'2", 228. 279 tackles on the year, six sacks this year. He's got 1 sack, 4 TFLs. Again, this defense is a who's who of defenses. They have got so much talent. It's scary in some respects because they're very similar in this respect to Ohio State in that respect. And remember, Caleb Downs was at Alabama for a cup of coffee before he transferred to Ohio State. So you got the type of talent you're seeing there. And I would equate this Ohio State team to very similar to this Alabama defense, very similar to Ohio State's. The other kid is Justin Jefferson. He's another big-time player, 3 sacks on the year, 6.5 TFLs, another big-size kid, 6'1", 227 pounds, 46 solo tackles. That's the one thing, too, with this cat is, again, these guys can run quite well. Let me make sure I'm not missing any. Let's see here. RB Media Williams is a threat, but the kid is struggling. Yeah, I know there's been a question mark on his hands this year, and I do think he struggled with that a little bit as a freshman, but he is so fast is that, he gives defensive coordinators nightmares because he's the type of guy that can get by you quickly and you blink and he's gone. And that's the thing that he gives you. He gives you that breakaway speed type of guy. Jefferson, again, the other kid is this at safety is Bray Hubbard. This kid is a ball player. He's a really good ball player. He's got 4 interceptions, 3 forced fumbles, 3 TFLs, 71 total tackles. He's a do-it-all guy. You see him move. They allow him to move a lot on film, so they give him a lot of freedom. But this cat is always around the ball. He's got a good head on his shoulders when it comes to defensive football and being where he needs to be to make plays. And he's done it all year. And you can tell he's one of their leaders on defense by the way he plays. And then another kid here we talked about, Mr. Overton. Been hurt. He's got 4 sacks on the year, 6'5", 278, call it 280. Powerful dude. He's powerful. He's got a lot of power. And he can also move well. But, he's been kind of banged up. They do say he's back to 100%. We'll see. But, again, really good player that they're getting back in their defense. And anytime you add a caliber kid like that back into the fold, it gives you a big shot in the arm because you go with him. And then, of course, you add James Smith into the equation, who's also 6'3", 297 pounds. 10 TFLs, 3.5 sacks on the career, but this year he's got 6.5 TFLs and 2.5 sacks. Another big-bodied guy for Alabama as well up front. So some big bodies, as you can see, up front for this Bama defensive line, and these guys will play. Horton, I think, is more of a kind of a 3 or edge player at times, and they kind of utilize him in a lot of different ways. The kid that Indiana is going to have to be aware of this game is well, I don't know why that's coming up that way. It's not Caleb Downs, that's for sure. Let me make sure I got this right because it's not coming up right on my thing. It's Pierre, the linebacker. As you can see, I had Mr. Caleb Downs on my mind as well. So, but Pierre is a guy, 42. You'll see him on tape. He makes a lot of plays, and he's their sack leader. 13 tackle, TFLs, 6.5 sacks. But this cat, he is a deer. He jumps, he moves, he's got quickness, but he can get by you because he's got that length that you look for in a defensive end type of player. But he's the guy Indiana's going to have to be very, very, very aware of, especially in passing situations, because he's the guy that has led their defense in that respect. And so he is going to be a guy Indiana is going to have their eyes and ears alerted to where this kid lines up, because he's a big time player for them. And then the last kid too is, I don't know, I'm getting some serious issues with my stuff tonight, and I don't know why, but this is not Caleb Downs again. I don't know what's going on here. I'm having trouble with my internet, I guess. The other one that's there is Brown, number 2. That was the guy that I wanted to show you. There was Brown, the DB. He's a nice sized kid. I mean, their DBs are really good. Dijon Lee, who's a true freshman. The Brown kid was the true freshman a year ago. So they've got these guys that are like 6'1". I think Lee may be like 6'4". Even he's a lankier kid. But these two guys are their corners, and they can play man. They play zone well, and they give them a lot of options on the outside because they can flat out get it. So you can kind of see that this defense, you understand why they are a good defense. They've got length, they've got speed, they got size, they've got all the intangibles that you look for in a defense when you talk about 4- and 5-star recruits. You can see why these are these guys, and you can see why this defense has played well for the better part of this season, giving this offense a chance to win games, even though they're only averaging 380 yards a game. It's because of what Womack has been able to do with this defense. And they struggled early on in the year, but when they got going, they really got going, and is going to be a dynamic unit. And I know their defensive line before the season started was a very highly rated D line in the country, as was the secondary. Those two, the front and the back end, were the two highest rated parts of their defense when you look at it. Let's see, Bryant. Yeah, I would agree that their DB room is one of their best on, if not the team, correct. I'd throw the D line in there as well in that respect. But both very good, talented, and Indiana is going to have to, have their alerts in terms of what certain players are doing when it's, in situations. And that's why Indiana cannot get behind the sticks. Just can't get behind the sticks, because when they do that, Alabama is like a shark in water, and they see blood, and they're all over it in that respect of things. So that's one thing that Indiana is going to have to make sure that they're aware of in that respect when it comes to this. Let's see here. Let's put this up. Show some video now of this Alabama team. Let's see if I can get it back to where I need it here. I don't need to be seen as much, but let's see and get this, because I want to blow it up anyway. But we'll show some of this as we look at it here. Of course, Alabama's offense first. They're very creative in their formations. As you can see here with Alabama right now, you've got these guys are on the line, so this is kind of like an unbalanced formation, and this guy and this guy can either move, or they can move if they need to in that respect. But very good in that, in some of this, in terms of what they can do. They're very creative in that. Here's a motion coming across, and they're going to get the ball outside to guess who? Number two. And you can kind of see how they set this up against Georgia in this respect. And this is a great play design. They're going to bring this guy in motion And this really softens him up because this outside defender comes all the way down to number 1, and this guy backs up, and there is nobody out there for Mr. Williams. And you can see where Ty has the option here. He could have handed off here and run kind of a power read situation where he's reading the defensive end. He could have handed it off to the running back there coming in motion, because you can kind of see what they're doing here. This is crack. This guy is coming out to block here. And if you gave it to him, you can see they got numbers there and they got numbers out here where they throw it quickly on the outside. And you don't let him get to the outside, because there's his speed. And I'm telling you, the dude is fast. Looking from the inside, as you can see it here, and you can see what I mean by what Ty has the option to do here in this run pass scheme. You can see Bama right now down, and back in their blocking schemes. This guy is really trying to pull up and get to the backer. He's cracking here, and they're going to read that guy if they were going to run power read back here. Or he can throw the quick screen, which he does outside there because of the way they aligned it. And it's pitch and catch, and it's a nice 10, 11, 12-yard gain down the sideline. So good play design there by Bama in terms of trying to take advantage of what Georgia wants to do. The other thing they like to do is condense the formation. They do this quite a bit, and they did it a lot against Bama, and you can see why, because out here, you get them almost in a very soft shell look. Now, they're going to play tight at the top, but you can kind of see Georgia's in their bear front, and you get them in that, and they're trying to, condense the formation, shorten that edge. Here, they're going to go ahead and run the young man back into the boundary. And this play didn't make sense to me because they don't have a guy for the defensive end, but this is why Williams is so dangerous. Whoop. I mean, that should have been about no gain, and he ends up sneaking out a couple yards here. But I'm not sure why Bama's running this into the boundary right here the way they're looking at it, because they're letting guys go. So they really mess it up in here somewhere. This is not the way they had it designed, I guarantee you. But Williams saves him there because he's such a talented kid. Okay, whoops. Sorry. All right. Again, this is a 3rd and 4 for Alabama. This is good creativity. They're going to go from an expanded front, bring Williams in here, and condense it, and get these guys bouncing off. And what you're going to get is this guy on a high corner. Williams is going to push up and whip it back out. You got the back out here in the flat real quick, and he's going to hit Williams right here for the first down and some big yardage. And they do a great job of protection. You can see where Ty steps up, sees the window, and does a great job of reading this here and getting it into the hands of his playmaker. Missed tackle, 3rd and 4, turns it into a big-time gain. So pretty good job here by Bama to the degree of the center. Center's really chasing this guy across his face. He should have really helped his left guard there and let his right guard take the guy looping. But Simpson finds the window and gets it to his man, who picks up additional yardage there because of the play. Whoops. All right, first down call again. They go from an expansion to a 5-wide look, trying to spread things out to give Simpson a 2-way go. He can throw it, or he could run it, because he can run the quarterback draw just as easy as here. But here's a good example of him reading the flat defender and making the ball in and out of his hands quickly. That's the one thing he does great, I think. He gets the ball in and out of his hands very quick. Very seldom do you see him hold the football too long. And again, that's all within the scheme of their offense when you look at it from that perspective. Let's see here if I got okay. One more play here offensively. Here's another good design. What they're going to do here is an RPO, and I believe he's reading this guy. So when this guy comes in this orbit motion, he's going to run the bubble, and they're going to run inside zone back this way with him, but he's reading him. If he doesn't get width like he does here, he's reading him because you can see his eyes. He sees him flowing, so he's not going to throw out here because that gives him a 4/3 look, and they should have a good look back inside to run the ball here. And they get a good 4 or 5 yard gain on it. All right, any questions? Let's see. Let's see. Seems like Williams has a knack for he's got the knack to make big plays no matter where he is. That's how good he is, man. He's a good player. Bryant, too many drop balls leads the nation. Not going to disagree with that. My man, Rudy. Oh, Rudy. Gotta love you, man. Let's see. A trick play. Let's see. Do you expect to see a trick play or two from Grubb's offense? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and Kalen in that respect. And then, again, they've got the ability to draw it up pretty good with what they like to do. And let's go. I'm going to get over to the defense after this play here. This one here is a 2nd and 8. And again, he's just taking what the defense gives him. So that tells you how smart a player he is there. Don't force something that's not there. He does a good job of that. Let's see here. Okay, this is a couple Georgia plays here, and then we'll. Now, this, I think, for whatever reason, they just seem to have the right call in here because Bama brings what we call a saw blitz, where these guys are pinching and they're bringing edge pressure. And what ends up happening is they get them outnumbered out here, and Stockton just picks it up, boom, and throws it out there when he could have handed it off. So that was an RPO that turned into a big time gain for Georgia there. So that was a good scheme by Georgia and how they did it. And they ran it a couple times where they got to the guys, they got the quick screens on the outside on Bama because they got them vacating. Again, this is 3rd and forever. And again, Bama, when they get you where they want you, they're going to play defense. This is just playing true coverage, kind of a three deep to the left of us here, and a cover shell down here at the bottom, and they're dropping it in. So they're dropping 8, rushing 3, and Stockton's just going to take off with it and get what he can there, which is smart offensive playing, because there's no sense of putting yourself in a bind there. Here's a 2nd and 10. Again, Georgia goes from an expansion, what I call expanding, is they're out here 3-by-1, and they're going to bring their tight end back in here to a tighter set to reset the defense. Now, Georgia just doesn't move. It's 2nd and 10, so they've got a lot of bodies up. They got 7 dudes up right now, so you got to be aware of it, and I guarantee it, they're going to stuff. So you can see here, how 18 that I was telling you earlier, he's all over the field. He's over here to the right now. He's going to run all the way to the top to play the half because they're playing cover 2 into the boundary, but they're playing cover 3 to the field. And they've got 2 guys overplaying the curl game and what we call a spy popping out for the quick hit over the middle. And they do a great job of getting this ball thrown into coverage over there, and it's an incomplete pass. So they do a great job of baiting you with their defense. Okay, let's see here. So again, 3rd and 15. Here's another zone blitz with the twisting motion up front with their backers. They're playing 2 over to the top. They're playing cover 2 up here. They're playing kind of a 3 deep down here. So you're getting a combination coverage. So Stockton does a good job here of dumping it down because the way they're dropping here. And so he does a great job of dropping to the back there. And again, he puts them in a position, if they want to go for it, it's 4th and 1. So it's a very good decision by him on that aspect of it. Let's see here. Then they get an interception. And again, this is kind of, they're designing some plays here by getting into this bunch set. And this is a great design play. And they got Bama because they've got leverage on them. This is a guy that's got to turn everything in, but they're bringing a guy here, and this guy's hanging. He should be coming downhill to make this play, and he hesitates. And boom, he misses the tackle there. But Georgia did a great job of running a lot of their formations. They mixed it up really good. They got him into some predictable fronts where they knew they were going to be in, and then they exploited it with certain run game aspects and had some big plays against Bama in this game on the SEC championship game with that aspect of things. When we look at this game and let's see here. When I look at this from a couple things here, when I looked at it, some things Indiana's offense I think's got to be conscious of and what they need to do in this ball game. One, got to stay on schedule, keep Mendoza upright, and find ways to get and utilize the RPO game. Figure out 3 big plays, how they're going to get them, and how they target, whether it's Surratt, Cooper, Becker. How are they going to force the ball down the field a little bit against this Bama defensive secondary? Like I said, you respect the pedigree, but do not be intimidated by it. The run game has got to be big Saturday once again. Got to get, if they can get to 200 yards rushing, that's 80 more than what Bama's giving up. Indiana's fully capable of it. They've got a fully filled offensive line. Hemby and Black are both healthy, and you've always got Martin as the 3rd option in the running game, and then Fernando throw for about 265. And if they can do those things, they can get themselves a chance to have a great ball game and win it. And I do think if they can get that much yardage, 465 yards, that's going to equate to about 27, 28 points on the day, especially if their efficiency is around 95%. Defense is this. You got to get Bama off schedule and find ways to pressure first downs. And what I mean by that is if Bama's going to try to use the pass to set up the run, they've got to find ways to get after Ty Simpson from the get-go and get them off schedule and get them in 3rd and longs, okay? They cannot let Bama get any type of sink offensively. They do that. They're a team that can go up tempo, especially when they've got things rolling for them. On money down situations, they got to get off the field, whether it's 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 10. Get off the top if you come out of coverage, and that's what he does really well. If he breaks contain, Find ways to rally to the ball, but make sure he's running it before you get abandon your coverage, because as soon as you think you're going to come up and make a play on him, it's going to go over your head. Guarantee it. He's done it before. He's really good at it. So you got to be very conscious of that on defense. When you look at special teams, again, in these games, when you got two teams that are equally matched, special teams as a way to be figure its way into it. You win the field position battle. Indiana's done that all year. They have forced opponent offenses to have to drive the long field, and the defense has been able to provide a short field for the offense. Same will be true on January 1. On the punt in this game as well, try to score or set up a score in the kicking game. The punt return team has been stellar all year. It'd be great to get a big return against this Bama team, because getting a score in special teams is like getting 2 touchdowns to a degree. 100% of all 40 yards and in plus PATs, that's field goal and extra points. And then, of course, in the special teams, no big plays against. I think that's an understood dynamic, and all of this is you don't want to give up the big play against this Alabama football team. Well, I appreciate you guys being here with me tonight again for this breakdown of the Alabama Crimson Tide in the Rose Bowl against Indiana on Thursday, January 1st, 4 o'clock kickoff. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the festivities. If you're going out west, have a safe travel. We'll be here with all the wrap-ups that you can think of after the game as well. And prior to the game, look for my pregame build-up to the Rose Bowl on Thursday, about 2 hours prior to kickoff. We'll have a little bit more to say about this game, and especially if the weather is going to be a factor. We'll see what all it entails. But again, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me here tonight on Hoosier Tailgate Live on thehoosier.com. Until we see you on Thursday, have a great night. Take care, and Happy New Year to each and every one of you from the Hoosier Tailgate. Good night, everybody.